The diplomatic hall floated in the darkness of space like a giant crystal bubble. Inside, representatives from dozens of alien species gathered around a circular table. The air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres that made the environmental systems work over time. Captain Elena Vasquez stood near the human delegation, her dark uniform crisp and clean. She kept her face calm even though she could hear the whispers. Outside the massive windows, her ship hung in the void. The Perseverance was huge, nearly 2 kilometers long, with a hull that looked thick and heavy. Compared to the sleek alien vessels nearby, it looked like an old cargo freighter. The other ships darted around like silver fish, their engines glowing bright as they showed off their speed. The human ship just sat there, barely moving. "Is that really their warship?" someone said in the common galactic language. The translator in Elena's ear converted it instantly. "It looks like a flying brick," another voice added. Laughter rippled through the room. Elena ignored it. She had heard worse in the 3 weeks since leaving Earth. Every station they passed, every patrol they encountered, the reaction was the same. Mockery, disbelief, sometimes pity. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Barely 80 years since first contact. They were the newcomers, the primitives who had just learned to travel faster than light. The Krev delegation sat across the hall. They were tall, nearly 3 meters high, with scales that shimmered like oil on water. Their eyes were cold and calculating. War Commander Thask was their leader, a veteran of 40 campaigns across the galaxy. He looked at Elena with something between amusement and contempt. "The humans finally arrive," Thask said, his voice booming across the hall. "We have been waiting. Your slow ship took 3 days longer than scheduled." "We came at our best speed," Elena replied. Her voice was steady, professional. "Your best speed." Thask laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Perhaps that is the problem. Perhaps humans should leave military matters to species more suited for war." Other aliens joined his laughter. The Zurich insect-like traitors with compound eyes clicked their mandibles in what might have been amusement. Even the crystalline Vo, usually diplomatic and neutral, seemed to shimmer with what could be laughter. Elena's second officer, Commander Marcus Webb, stood beside her. She felt him tense, but she touched his arm gently. "Not yet. Not here." The meeting was called to order by the Vo mediator, a being of living crystal named Resonance of Truth. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "We gather to discuss the border dispute between the Krev Dominion and the Terran Alliance. The Krev have claimed that 3 human colony worlds fall within their historical territory." "Not claimed," Thask interrupted. "Stated fact. Those worlds belonged to the Krev for 10,000 years before humans even left their planet. You will surrender them or there will be war." Elena stepped forward. "Those worlds were abandoned, empty for over 2,000 years when our colony ships arrived. We found no trace of Krev civilization. We built our homes there, farms, cities. 60 million humans live on those 3 worlds now. Then 60 million humans will learn to serve Krev masters," Thask said. "Or they will die. The choice is yours." The hall fell silent. Even the other species seemed shocked at the directness of the threat. The Vo mediator's crystalline body dimmed, a sign of distress. "War Commander," Resonance of Truth said carefully, "such language is not appropriate for diplomatic discussion." "I am done with discussion," Thask said. He stood towering over the table. "I have seen the human ship. I have seen their pathetic attempts at military technology. They are no threat to the Dominion. We will take what is ours." Elena remained calm. She had expected this. The intelligence reports said the Krev had been testing human defenses for months, probing, watching, measuring. They had seen human ships and decided humans were weak, slow, easy prey. "If you want war," Elena said quietly, "then war you shall have." Thask's eyes glittered. "You are brave for someone commanding such a pathetic vessel." "Very well, I propose a test, a demonstration of force. Your ship against my fleet in the shattered Graves asteroid field. 48 hours from now. If you win, the Krev will withdraw our claim for 10 years. If we win, you surrender the 3 worlds immediately." "That is highly irregular," Resonance of Truth protested. "But it prevents a larger war," Elena said. She looked at Thask. "1 ship against your fleet." "What are the numbers?" "My fleet consists of 12 cruisers and 3 heavy destroyers," Thask said. "All faster and more powerful than your floating warehouse. I am being generous, giving you a chance to surrender with honor." The other species whispered among themselves. The odds were impossible. One human ship against 15 Krev warships, in an asteroid field where the faster ships would have every advantage. It was suicide. Elena looked at Commander Webb. He nodded slightly. They had discussed this possibility before leaving Earth. "We accept," Elena said. Thask's smile showed rows of sharp teeth. "Excellent. I look forward to teaching humans their place in the galaxy. Do not feel shame in your coming defeat. The Krev have conquered 100 species. You are simply next." The meeting ended shortly after. As the delegations dispersed, Elena heard the bets being placed. The Zric traders were already establishing odds. One human ship versus 15 Krev warships. The odds were 50-1 against humanity. Some species were betting on how quickly the battle would end. The most generous gave the Perseverance 30 minutes. Back aboard her ship, Elena walked through the long corridors. The crew saluted as she passed. They had heard about the challenge. News traveled fast on a ship, even one as large as the Perseverance. She saw determination in their eyes, but also fear. They trusted her, but they had also seen the Krev fleet. On the bridge, her senior staff waited. Commander Webb, Chief Engineer Jackson, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Morrison, and a dozen others. They stood around the holographic display table, looking at the map of the Shattered Graves asteroid field. "Captain," Lieutenant Morrison said, "the Krev fleet is everything Intel said it would be. Fast, heavily armed, excellent crew training. In a straight fight, they will tear us apart." "Good thing we are not planning a straight fight," Elena said. Chief Engineer Jackson smiled. He was an older man, gray at the temples with hands that showed years of work. "The package is ready, Captain." All 5,000 units checked and triple-checked. They have been waiting for this. Elena looked at the map. The asteroid field was perfect. Dense, chaotic, full of rocks ranging from the size of cars to the size of mountains. The Krev would use it for cover, darting between asteroids using their speed to attack from multiple angles. "Time to deployment?" Elena asked. "Once we enter the field, 6 hours to full deployment," Jackson said. "They will be completely invisible. The Krev sensors will not detect them until activation. And they still think we are just a slow cargo ship with guns," Webb added. Elena smiled. It was not a kind smile. Let them think that. Humanity has been underestimated before. It never ends well for those doing the underestimating. She looked at her crew. Good people, trained, ready. They had volunteered for this mission knowing it might come to combat. Earth's first real test in galactic warfare. "We have 48 hours, Elena said. "Get the ship ready." "Full maintenance check. I want every system perfect. We get one chance to show the galaxy what humans can do. Let us make it count." The crew dispersed to their duties. Elena stood alone on the bridge for a moment, looking at the stars outside. Somewhere out there, Earth hung in space. Home. Billions of people who trusted their military to protect them. 3 colony worlds full of families who depended on her to save them from Krev conquest. She thought about the Krev war commander, so confident in his speed and firepower. So certain that humans were weak, he was about to learn a very hard lesson. Humans had been fighting wars since before they discovered fire. They had learned every trick, every strategy, every brutal method of combat over 10,000 years of history, and now they had combined all that knowledge with technology the galaxy had never seen. The Perseverance was slow. That was true. But speed was not everything in war. Sometimes patience was deadlier than any weapon. The Shattered Graves lived up to its name. The asteroid field stretched across millions of kilometers, a graveyard of rocks that had once been moons or perhaps even planets. Some asteroids were tiny, no bigger than a person. Others were massive, spinning mountains of stone and ice. The field was dense enough to hide a fleet but dangerous enough to destroy careless pilots. The Krev fleet arrived first, naturally. Their ships cut through space at speeds that made them blur on sensors. 12 cruisers formed a wide net around the designated combat zone, each one sleek and deadly. The 3 heavy destroyers took up position at the center, their weapons arrays glowing with ready power. War Commander Thask commanded from his flagship, the triumphant Fang, a destroyer that had won 23 battles without a single defeat. Spectator ships gathered at the edge of the field, maintaining a safe distance of 50,000 kilometers. The Zurich had sent their largest observation vessel, already broadcasting the event to 100 worlds. The Vo diplomatic ship hung nearby, its crystalline structure glowing softly. Other species came too, curious to see the humans humiliated. Some came hoping the humans would surprise everyone. Most came to watch the newcomers learn their lesson. The Perseverance entered the field 3 hours later. It moved like an old transport ship, engines glowing dim as it slowly accelerated. Compared to the darting Krev vessels, it looked like a whale swimming with sharks. The hull was scarred from years of service, thick armor plating covering every surface. Weapon ports were visible along its flanks, but they looked standard. Missile tubes, railguns. Nothing special. Nothing frightening. They actually came, Thask said, watching the human ship on his display. His crew laughed with him. I almost expected them to run. They are either very brave or very stupid, his tactical officer said. Stupid, Thask decided. Definitely stupid. He opened a communication channel. Captain Vasquez, you have entered the combat zone. Once you are ready, we will begin. I will even give you time to say prayers to your human gods. Elena's voice came back calm and clear. No prayers needed, War Commander. We are ready when you are. So eager to die, Thask muttered. He switched to fleet communication. All ships begin attack pattern Delta 7. Show them what real warships can do. The Krev cruisers sprang into action. They moved like dancers, weaving between asteroids at impossible speeds. Their formation split into 3 groups, each approaching the Perseverance from a different angle. The heavy destroyers held back, ready to deliver the killing blow once the cruisers softened up the human ship. The first plasma volleys lit up the darkness. Brilliant blue energy bolts crossed the space between ships, slamming into the Perseverance's shields. The human ship shuddered but held. Its shields flared orange, absorbing the impact. Return fire came slowly, almost lazily. A few missiles launched. Some railgun rounds fired. Nothing impressive. Their shields are strong, Thask's tactical officer reported. But their weapons are weak. Minimal damage to our ships. Increase fire, Thask ordered. I want that ship crippled in 10 minutes. The Krev cruisers pressed their attack. They used the asteroids perfectly, ducking behind cover, emerging to fire, then disappearing again. Their speed made them almost impossible to target. The Perseverance tried to track them, but was too slow. Its weapon turrets rotated, searching, firing at empty space as the Krev ships danced away. On the spectator ships, the observers watched with professional interest. The battle was going exactly as predicted. The slow human ship was taking damage, its shields flickering under the constant bombardment. The Krev were demonstrating textbook fleet tactics, using superior speed and numbers to overwhelm a single target. The humans fight well, a VO observer noted. Their ship is tougher than expected, but still too slow, a Zurich trader replied. Speed is everything in modern warfare. Their tactical doctrine is outdated by 300 years. 20 minutes into the battle, the Perseverance began to retreat. It turned slowly, ponderously, moving deeper into the asteroid field. Its shields were down to 60%. Scorch marks covered sections of the hull. Atmosphere vented from a few minor breaches. Quickly sealed by emergency systems. They run! Thask shouted triumphantly. All ships pursue. Do not let them escape. The Krev fleet charged forward. The cruisers accelerated to maximum speed, weaving through the dense asteroid field with practiced skill. This was their element, fast ships in a chaotic environment. The heavy destroyers followed more carefully, maintaining formation. Elena watched the tactical display on her bridge. The Krev ships were exactly where she wanted them. Spread out, committed to the chase. Deep in the asteroid field where the rocks were thickest. Status on the children? She asked calmly. Chief Engineer Jackson checked his console. All units deployed and in position, Captain. 216 active. 0 malfunctions. They are sleeping quietly, waiting for your word. Excellent. Elena looked at the pursuing Krev ships. They were 5 kilometers away now, closing fast. She could see their weapon systems charging for another volley. Commander Webb, prepare to execute Operation Swarm. Webb smiled. With pleasure, Captain. On the spectator ships, the observers leaned forward. The human ship was cornered now, backed against a cluster of large asteroids. The Krev were moving in for the kill. This would be over in minutes. Then Elena gave the order that would change galactic warfare forever. Wake them up. Across the asteroid field, 216 rocks suddenly moved. They had been drifting among the real asteroids for the past 6 hours, perfectly camouflaged. Each one was roughly the size of a fighter craft, covered in radar-absorbing material and actual rock debris. They had been cold and silent, indistinguishable from the thousands of real asteroids around them. Now they came alive. The drones activated their engines and weapon systems simultaneously. The rock camouflage exploded away, revealing sleek combat units underneath. They moved fast, much faster than the Perseverance, using chemical thrusters for instant acceleration. Within seconds, they swarmed the Krev fleet like angry hornets. What? Thask stared at his display in disbelief. Where did they come from? His tactical officer was shouting. Contacts everywhere. Dozens of them, hundreds. They are surrounding us. The drones attacked with brutal efficiency. They moved in coordinated packs of 10 or 15, each pack targeting a single Krev cruiser. They were not trying to destroy the ships. They were trying to disable them. EMP charges detonated against shields, overloading systems. Breaching charges blew holes in armor. Hacking drones attached themselves to hull sections, trying to penetrate computer systems. The Krev fought back desperately. Point defense systems came online, shooting down drones by the dozens. But for every drone destroyed, 3 more took its place. The AI controlling the swarm learned from each loss, adapting its tactics in real time. The drones shared information instantly, coordinating their attacks with inhuman precision. The first Krev cruiser went dark 90 seconds into the swarm attack. Its engines died. Weapons offline. Crew unharmed but helpless. The second cruiser followed 30 seconds later. Then a third. Full retreat, Thask ordered. All ships, maximum speed, exit the field. But it was too late. The drones had cut off their escape routes. More drones emerged from the asteroids, waves of them, hundreds more that had been sleeping in the depths of the field. The Krev heavy destroyers tried to fight their way out, their massive guns firing in all directions. They destroyed dozens of drones, but it made no difference. The swarm adapted, attacked from new angles, overwhelmed their defenses through sheer numbers. The Perseverance stopped retreating. It turned to face the battle, and new weapon ports opened across its hull. Dozens of them, hundreds. Launch tubes that had been hidden beneath armored panels. More drones poured out, fresh waves to replace losses. Missile drones, electronic warfare drones, even tiny maintenance drones that carried breaching charges. It is a carrier, Webb said quietly, standing beside Elena on the bridge. The whole ship is one massive carrier platform. 5,000 combat drones, Elena said. Various types and configurations, all controlled by the ship's AI with human oversight. We learned from our naval history, carriers do not need to be fast. They just need to project overwhelming force. On the spectator ships, complete silence reigned. The observers watched in shock as the battle turned into a systematic dismantling of the Krev fleet. The fast ships that everyone had admired were now liabilities. They could not outrun the drones. They could not fight them all. They could barely maneuver in the dense asteroid field without hitting rocks or each other. 4 Krev cruisers tried to form a defensive cluster, combining their point defense systems. The drones simply attacked from 6 directions simultaneously, saturating their defenses. 2 more cruisers went dark. The remaining 2 broke formation and tried to flee separately. The drones hunted them down methodically. Thask watched his fleet die. Not die, he corrected himself. That was the worst part. The drones were not killing anyone. They were disabling ships with surgical precision, crippling them, capturing them. His crews were safe but helpless, drifting in dead ships surrounded by enemy drones. His own flagship shuddered as drones swarmed it. The triumphant Fang had the strongest shields, the best armor, the most powerful weapons. The briefing room aboard the Perseverance was designed for human comfort, which meant War Commander Thask had to duck through the doorway and fold his large frame into a chair built for smaller beings. He sat stiffly, his scales still shimmering with agitation. 2 human Marines stood guard near the door, their faces professional and unreadable. Their weapons remained holstered, but Thask knew they could draw and fire in less than a second if needed. Captain Vasquez entered with Commander Webb. She carried 2 cups of coffee, the smell filling the room with an earthy aroma. She set 1 cup in front of Thask and kept the other for herself. It is not poisoned, she said, sitting across from him. Coffee, a human stimulant drink. Some species find it pleasant. Thask did not touch the cup. He looked at Elena with eyes that mixed anger, confusion, and grudging respect. How? He asked simply. How did we win? Elena sipped her coffee. Or how did we develop the technology? Both. All of it. Thask gestured toward the window where his disabled fleet floated, surrounded by human drones. We have been watching human ships for years. Every scan showed conventional weapons, standard designs, nothing like what I just witnessed. You saw what we wanted you to see, Elena said. The outer hull, the visible weapons, they are all real. They work, but they are not the main armament. The Perseverance is not a battleship. It is a carrier, the first of its kind in the galaxy as far as we know. Webb pulled up a holographic display. It showed the internal structure of the Perseverance. Nearly 70% of the ship's volume was dedicated to drone storage, manufacturing, and deployment systems. Launch tubes ran through the entire vessel like a honeycomb. Automated factories could produce replacement drones during battle. The AI systems managing it all were more powerful than the entire computer networks of some smaller species. We asked ourselves a question, Elena continued. Why do we fight wars with people when machines can do it better? Every species we encountered builds ships with crews, pilots, gunners, soldiers. Your culture values warrior traditions. You take pride in combat skill. We understand that. Humans used to be the same way. Used to be? Thask asked. 500 years ago, human warfare changed. We started using drones for the most dangerous missions, first for reconnaissance, then for bombing, eventually for direct combat. We learned that machines do not get tired. They do not panic. They do not mourn their fallen. And most importantly, when a drone is destroyed, no family receives a death notice. Thask was quiet for a moment. That is, efficient, but also sad. Where is the honor in having machines fight your battles? We found honor in bringing our people home alive, Webb said. Every human on this ship has a family, parents, children, lovers, friends. Why should they die when a machine can take their place? Elena stood and walked to the window. When we joined the galactic community 80 years ago, we saw how everyone else fought wars. Ship-to-ship combat, crew against crew, speed and firepower determining victory. We realized we could not compete that way. The Krev have been building warships for 10,000 years. The Zurich have biological ships that grow weapons. The Vo can coordinate their crystalline vessels through quantum entanglement. We are newcomers with less advanced technology in most areas. So you cheated, Thask said, but there was no heat in his words. Just understanding. We adapted, Elena corrected. We took our strength, artificial intelligence and robotics, and built a doctrine around it. Why make one ship fast when you can make 1,000 drones even faster? Why risk a crew of 800 when you can send machines instead? She turned back to face him. The Perseverance carries 5,000 combat drones in various configurations. Assault drones with breaching charges, electronic warfare drones that hack enemy systems, missile drones, reconnaissance drones, even repair drones that can fix damage during battle. Each drone is controlled by a sophisticated AI that coordinates with all the others. They share information instantly, adapt to threats in real time, and execute complex strategies that would be impossible for organic crews. And the slow speed? Thask asked. Intentional, Webb said. We sacrificed speed for capacity. Every bit of space and power that would go into faster engines instead goes into drones, armor, and systems. The ship does not need to be fast. It just needs to get to the battle space and deploy its forces. After that, the drones do all the fighting. Thask looked at his claws. They were shaking slightly. My entire fleet, 15 ships, destroyed in 47 minutes. Disabled. Elena corrected gently. We avoided killing where possible. Your crews are alive and will be returned to you. The damaged ships can be repaired. We are not monsters, War Commander. We are just very good at what we do. How many ships like this does humanity have? Thask asked, though he seemed afraid of the answer. That is classified, Elena said. But I can tell you that the Perseverance is not unique. And we are building more. The implication hung in the air like smoke. If humanity had multiple carrier ships, each carrying thousands of drones, their effective military power was far beyond what anyone had imagined. A single carrier could disable an entire fleet. 10 carriers could challenge a galactic power. 100 could dominate a sector. The spectator ship saw everything, Thask said quietly. By now, every species knows what humans can do. The galaxy will never be the same. No, Elena agreed. It will not. The question is what we do with that knowledge. She sat down again and met Thask's eyes. Humanity does not want conquest. We do not want to rule the galaxy or subjugate other species. We just want to live in peace and protect our people. We have 3 colony worlds with 60 million humans living ordinary lives. They farm, they raise children. They dream of the future. When you threatened those worlds, you left us no choice but to show our capabilities. A demonstration, Thask said. You could have destroyed my fleet completely. Killed everyone. Instead, you disabled us and let us live. Why? Because we remember being the weaker species, Elena said. 80 years ago, we were alone in the galaxy, trying to figure out faster-than-light travel. Other species helped us, shared knowledge, welcomed us to the galactic community. We do not forget that kindness. We also do not forget the lessons of our own history. Humanity spent 10,000 years fighting itself. We know what hatred and fear can do. We know how easy it is to turn differences into reasons for war. She finished her coffee. So we chose a different path. We built weapons strong enough to protect ourselves but used them with restraint. We could have opened fire on your fleet the moment you entered the asteroid field. Instead, we waited until you committed to the attack. We gave you every chance to back down. You chose to fight. We chose to win without unnecessary bloodshed. Thask was silent for a long time. Outside, human drones moved in precise formations, corralling his disabled ships, assisting with repairs where needed. The triumphant Fang, his proud flagship, floated dark and helpless. His career was over. His reputation destroyed. The Krev Dominion would recall him in disgrace for losing to a species everyone had mocked. But he was alive. His crews were alive. The humans had shown mercy when they could have shown annihilation. What happens now? He asked. You go home, Elena said. You take your fleet and your crews. You tell your Dominion what you saw here. The 3 colony worlds remain human territory. The Krev will honor the agreement and withdraw all claims for 10 years. In exchange, humanity will not retaliate for this attack. We consider the matter settled. Just like that? No reparations? No demands? Just like that, Elena confirmed. We fought because you challenged us. We won. Now we go back to peace. That is all we ever wanted. Thask stood slowly. He was a warrior, trained since birth in combat and tactics. He had led armies across a dozen worlds. He understood strength and respected it. What he saw in the human captain was not cruelty or vindictiveness, just calm determination and surprisingly compassion. I underestimated you, he said. I underestimated all of humanity. I will not make that mistake again. Good, Elena said. She stood and offered her hand in the human gesture of peace. After a moment, Thask took it. His scaled hand dwarfed hers, but he gripped gently. War Commander, I hope we never have to fight again. But if we do, remember this day. Remember that humans do not want war, but we are very, very good at it when we have no other choice. Thask returned to his flagship an hour later. Human engineers had restored basic power and life support to the disabled Krev vessels. Crews were already working on bringing the ships back to full functionality. It would take days, maybe weeks, but the Krev fleet would survive. As his shuttle approached the triumphant Fang, Thask looked back at the Perseverance. The massive human carrier sat among the asteroids like a patient predator. Drones floated around it in complex patterns, some returning to the ship's hangars, others taking up patrol positions. Even at rest, the vessel radiated quiet menace. On the spectator ships, messages were already flying across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. The Zurich traders were recalculating economic models, accounting for humanity's unexpected military power. The Vo diplomats were composing careful reports, analyzing the implications for galactic politics. Other species watched the recordings of the battle, studying the human tactics, trying to understand how such one-sided victory was possible. The Galactic Council met in emergency session 3 days after the Battle of Shattered Graves. The council chamber was enormous, a sphere of transparent material that floated in orbit around a neutral star. Inside, representatives from 67 species gathered in their respective atmosphere sections, each protected by individual environmental shields. The chamber's translation systems worked overtime, converting hundreds of languages into a common understanding. Ambassador Sarah Chen represented humanity. She was young for such a senior position, barely 40 years old. But she had proven herself diplomatic and clever in the 2 years since her appointment. Now she sat in the human section, breathing Earth-normal air, watching the chaos unfold. The Zurich representative clicked its mandibles rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. The humans have violated the spirit of galactic military conventions. They deployed weapons that no one knew existed. This is deception on a scale that undermines all diplomatic trust. A chorus of agreement came from several species. The Zreek had strong trade relationships with the Krev and were worried about the economic implications. If the Krev were no longer the dominant military power in their sector, trade routes and protection agreements would need to be renegotiated. Deception? Sarah stood, her voice calm but carrying clearly through the translation systems. We never claimed our ships were weak. Others assumed they were. We never promised to reveal all our military capabilities. No species does. The Krev attacked us based on their own miscalculations. That is not our fault. You built weapons designed to neutralize traditional fleet tactics, another representative shouted. This one was from the Torvath, a species that prided itself on its naval traditions. Your drones make conventional warships obsolete. You have disrupted the military balance that has kept peace for 3,000 years. A balance that allowed the strong to bully the weak, Sarah countered. A balance that let the Krev demand 3 of our colony worlds simply because they could. You speak of peace, but what you really mean is predictability. You were comfortable with a galaxy where military power was determined by ship speed and crew training. Now that has changed, and you are afraid. The Vo mediator, Resonance of Truth, chimed softly to call for order. Ambassador Chen speaks truth. The humans violated no laws or treaties. They simply used tactics and technology that we did not anticipate. The question before this council is not whether humanity did wrong, but how we adapt to this new reality. Adapt. The Krev representative stood. He was not Thask, who had been recalled to his homeworld. This was a diplomat named Kresh, older and more measured in his speech. Adaptation implies that we accept this situation. The Krev Dominion does not accept defeat so easily. The Dominion already accepted it when you withdrew your claim to our colony worlds, Sarah said. War Commander Thask agreed to the terms. Is the Dominion now claiming your military leaders have no authority to make binding agreements? Kresh's scales rippled with suppressed anger, but he could not deny it. Thask had agreed to the terms in front of witnesses from multiple species. The recordings were public. To reject that agreement now would be to admit the Krev's word meant nothing. We demand that humanity limit its drone production, a new voice called. This was from the Mirren Collective, a species that built their military around fast strike craft. No single species should have such overwhelming force projection capability. It destabilizes the entire galactic order. Do you limit your production of strike craft? Sarah asked. Does the Krev limit their battleship construction? Does any species accept restrictions on their military capacity? She looked around the chamber. Humanity will not accept such restrictions either. We will build what we need to defend our people. If that makes you uncomfortable, then I suggest you avoid threatening us. The bluntness of her statement caused a stir. In galactic politics, such direct language was usually avoided. Diplomats spoke in careful phrases, layered meanings, polite fictions. But Sarah was tired of politeness. The Krev had threatened 60 million human lives. Other species had stood by and watched, some even entertained by the coming battle. Now they were upset because humanity had refused to be victims. A new voice entered the discussion, this one unexpectedly supportive. The human ambassador is correct. It was the representative from the Yalori, a peaceful species that had been conquered twice in their history before winning independence. We have long suffered under the assumption that military might makes right. The strong dictate terms to the weak. The Krev demanded human worlds simply because they had superior fleets. Many of us have faced similar demands over the centuries. Perhaps humanity's new capabilities will finally create real balance, where strength does not automatically mean domination. Several other smaller species murmured agreement. The Dorathi, the Quinn, the Helvetii, all species that had been pushed around by larger military powers. They saw humanity's victory not as a threat but as an opportunity. If the old military doctrines were obsolete, perhaps the old power structures could be challenged as well. This is exactly the instability we feared, the Torvath representative said. Now every minor species will seek human technology, trying to level the playing field. It will lead to conflicts across the galaxy, or it will lead to peace, Sarah suggested. Real peace, not just the strong holding the weak in check. If anyone can threaten anyone else, perhaps everyone will be more careful about starting conflicts. The debate raged for hours. Some species demanded that humanity share its technology. Others wanted restrictions placed on drone warfare. A few called for economic sanctions against humanity until they agreed to limits. The Zurich proposed that all major military powers should reveal their capabilities to avoid future surprises. Through it all, Sarah remained firm. Humanity would not be bullied, sanctioned, or manipulated. They had broken no laws. They had defended themselves when attacked. They would continue to build their military as they saw fit. Finally, Resonance of Truth called for a formal vote on 3 proposals. First, should humanity be required to limit drone production? The vote failed, with 40 species against, 27 for. Second, should humanity be required to share drone technology? The vote failed even more decisively, 51 against, 16 for. Third, should the Galactic Council formally recognize humanity's right to develop and deploy military technology as they saw fit? The vote passed, 44 for, 23 against. It was not a resounding victory, but it was enough. Humanity's military autonomy was protected by council law. As the session ended and representatives began departing, Sarah found herself approached by several ambassadors. The Yolori representative was first, a small furry being with large eyes. "Thank you," they said simply, "for showing that the strong can be resisted. My people have dreamed of this for generations." The Quinn ambassador, a aquatic being in a mobile tank, bubbled agreement. "Already my government is requesting information about human alliance possibilities. We would like to discuss mutual defense agreements." By the time Sarah returned to the human embassy station, she had received 7 requests for formal diplomatic meetings, 3 proposals for military alliances, and 12 inquiries about trade agreements. Humanity's status in the galaxy had changed overnight from newcomers to major power. Back on Earth, in the Defense Ministry headquarters in Geneva, Fleet Admiral Marcus Rodriguez reviewed the intelligence reports with his senior staff. The reports came from human agents embedded in various alien governments and from open-source intelligence gathered across the galaxy. "The Krev are in chaos," his intelligence chief reported. Thask was not just recalled. He was arrested. The Dominion High Command is conducting a full review of their military doctrine. Early reports suggest they are considering developing their own drone programs, but they are decades behind our technology level. "The Torvath are more concerning," another officer added. "They see our success as an existential threat to their warrior culture. Intelligence suggests they may attempt to steal our technology through espionage or cyber attacks." "Increase security protocols," Rodriguez ordered. "But do not overreact. Some espionage is expected. As long as they do not succeed, having them try might actually be useful. Let them waste resources chasing technology they cannot replicate easily." "What about the smaller species requesting alliances?" his diplomatic liaison asked. "We have been approached by 17 governments so far. Most are offering very favorable terms." Rodriguez considered carefully. "We are not in the empire business. We will not collect puppet states. But selective alliances with species that share our values could be beneficial. Focus on those who want mutual defense, not those who want us to fight their battles for them." He pulled up the strategic star map. Human space was still small, just 17 systems with established colonies. But the map now showed interest from dozens of neighboring species. Some friendly, some cautious, some actively hostile. "The Battle of Shattered Graves changed everything," Rodriguez said. "We went from being ignored to being feared in less than an hour. That brings opportunities but also dangers. Species that fear us may band together against us. Others will try to manipulate us into conflicts that serve their interests." 6 months had passed since the Battle of Shattered Graves. The galaxy had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Trade routes shifted as species reevaluated their relationships with humanity. Military academies across 100 worlds rewrote their tactical manuals. The name Perseverance became famous, spoken with respect by some and fear by others. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of her ship, now refitted and improved. The retrofit had taken 3 months at Earth's orbital shipyards. More efficient drone factories, better AI coordination systems, enhanced defensive shields. The Perseverance was even more formidable than before, though it looked just as slow and ungainly to outside observers. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal," Lieutenant Morrison reported from the bridge. "Civilian transport under pirate attack. Coordinates coming through now." Elena hurried to the bridge. The holographic display showed a region of space 3 hours away at the Perseverance's best speed. A civilian transport, registry showing it was from the Yolori species, was being harassed by 4 pirate vessels. The pirates were demanding cargo and passengers as slaves. "Set course. Maximum speed," Elena ordered. "Prepare drone deployment." Let us show these pirates why attacking civilian ships in this sector is a bad idea. The Perseverance turned and accelerated. 3 hours later, they arrived to find the Yalori transport dead in space, its engines damaged. The pirate ships were circling it like predators. They were small, fast vessels, probably stolen military craft from various species. Pirates had no allegiance except to profit. The pirate commander sent a mocking message when the Perseverance appeared. Look, boys, the famous human turtle ship. By the time it gets here, we will be long gone with our prize. This is Captain Vasquez of the Terran Alliance ship Perseverance, Elena replied calmly. Release the transport immediately and surrender. This is your only warning, the pirates laughed. Your ship is too slow, human. We will take what we want and be gone before you can even target us. Elena nodded to Morrison. Show them. The space around the Yalori transport suddenly filled with drones. They had been deployed 20 minutes earlier. Small packages fired from the Perseverance's long-range launchers. They had drifted silently, looking like debris until activation. Now they swarmed the pirate vessels like angry insects. The pirate ships tried to run, but they were already surrounded. Drones disabled their engines within 90 seconds. Breaching teams forced their way aboard. Within 5 minutes, all 4 pirate crews were in custody, alive but disarmed. The Yalori transport captain sent a message full of gratitude. Thank you, Captain Vasquez. The pirates would have sold my passengers as slaves. You saved 147 lives today. Just doing our job, Elena replied. Do you need assistance with repairs? Yes, please. Our engineering section was damaged. Elena dispatched repair drones and a team of human engineers. Within 2 hours, the Yalori transport was spaceworthy again. The grateful captain offered payment, but Elena refused. No payment necessary. We are happy to help. Stay safe out there. As the Yalori ship departed and the pirate crews were secured in the brig, Commander Webb joined Elena on the bridge. That makes the 5th pirate attack we have stopped this month. Word is spreading. Pirates are starting to avoid sectors where human ships patrol. Good, Elena said. That is exactly what we hoped for. We cannot police the entire galaxy, but we can make this region safer. Over the past 6 months, the Perseverance and 2 other human carrier ships had been assigned to patrol the border regions between human space and the territories of smaller, friendlier species. They responded to distress calls, escorted convoys, and generally made their presence known. The result was dramatic. Piracy in the region had dropped by 60%. Slave raids by predatory species had nearly stopped completely. The smaller species loved humanity for it. The Yalori, the Quinn, the Darathi, and others had all signed mutual defense agreements with Earth. In exchange for human protection, they provided trade goods, scientific cooperation, and diplomatic support in the Galactic Council. But not everyone was happy with humanity's new role. The Krev Dominion still seethed over their defeat. The Torvath considered human tactics dishonorable. The Zurich worried about economic disruption, and there were whispers of a coalition forming among species that saw humanity as a threat to the traditional galactic order. 2 weeks later, those whispers became action. The Perseverance received an encrypted message from Earth military intelligence. A fleet was being assembled. 7 species, including the Krev and Torvath, were pooling resources for a demonstration of force near human space. The fleet would number over 100 ships, all traditional design, all crewed by warriors proud of their martial traditions. Admiral Rodriguez contacted Elena directly via secure channel. Captain, intelligence believes they are planning to challenge our carrier doctrine. They want to prove that traditional fleets can overcome drone tactics. You will be their target. Elena felt her stomach tighten. 100 ships. Even with drones, those were terrible odds. Orders, sir? You have 2 choices. 1, return to Earth orbit and avoid the confrontation. Let them posture and eventually back down when we deploy multiple carriers to match their fleet. 2, meet them with support and demonstrate again why attacking humanity is a mistake. Support, sir? The Endeavor and the Resolution are both in range. They can rendezvous with you in 4 days. 3 carrier ships against 100 traditional warships. Intelligence says the species involved are watching carefully. If we back down, they will see weakness. If we win, the coalition will collapse, Elena considered. 3 carriers meant 15,000 drones total. Overwhelming numbers, but the enemy would be prepared this time. They would have studied the Battle of Shattered Graves. They would have countermeasures, tactics, strategies designed specifically to fight drone swarms. I will meet them, sir. With the other carriers, we will show the galaxy, again, that humanity does not run from threats. 4 days later, the 3 human carriers formed a defensive triangle in a neutral zone. The Perseverance, the Endeavor, and the Resolution floated in space, looking slow and vulnerable. Their captains, Elena Vasquez, James Park, and Maria Santos, coordinated via secure link. 100 ships, Captain Park said. He was older than Elena, a veteran of Earth's naval forces before joining the space fleet. I have never seen such a coalition.
Krev, Torvath, Zrik, Miran, Karathi, Belix, and Thren.
7 species that normally hate each other, united against us. Fear makes strange alliances, Captain Santos observed. She was the youngest of the 3, brilliant and aggressive. They are terrified we will replace them as the dominant military powers. They need to prove we are not invincible. We are not invincible, Elena said. We are just very well prepared. Remember the plan. We deploy in stages, not all at once. Let them think they are winning. Let them commit. Then we show them the full swarm. The enemy fleet arrived an hour later. It was impressive, Elena had to admit. 100 ships in precise formation, representing the best military technology of 7 different species. Fast cruisers, heavy battleships, carrier craft with their own fighters, electronic warfare vessels, even a few experimental designs, clearly built to counter drone tactics. The Krev war commander leading the coalition sent a message. It was not Thask, but someone new. Human vessels. You have disrupted galactic military order with your cowardly tactics, hiding behind machines while real warriors risk their lives. Today we prove that courage and skill still matter. We will disable your ships and capture your technology. The age of human dominance ends now. Elena's response was broadcast across all channels, ensuring maximum audience. Dozens of spectator ships had gathered, representing neutral species and news organizations. This battle would be watched across the galaxy. We have no desire to fight you, Elena said calmly. We have no desire to dominate anyone, but if you attack, we will defend ourselves. Last chance to withdraw with honor. Honor? The Krev commander laughed. You know nothing of honor. Attack. The coalition fleet surged forward. They had clearly practiced this assault. The fast ships darted ahead, drawing fire. The heavy battleships advanced more slowly, their shields at maximum, weapons charging. The carrier ships deployed their fighters, organic pilots in small craft that twisted and turned with organic grace. The human carriers launched their first wave of drones, only 1,000 keeping the majority in reserve. The drones met the enemy fleet in a spectacular display of fire and movement. But this time the coalition was ready. Their point defense systems had been upgraded. Their electronic warfare systems had been specifically designed to disrupt drone coordination. Their fighters engaged in dogfights, pilot skill against AI precision. The first wave of drones took heavy losses. Nearly 40% were destroyed in the first 10 minutes. The coalition fleet pressed forward, encouraged by their success. Now they are confident, Elena said on the command link. Now they think they can win. Let them get closer. The second wave launched. Then the third. The drones kept coming, but the coalition kept destroying them. The human carriers were taking damage too, enemy fire getting through their defensive screens. The Resolution shields dropped to 50%.